A key concept for leaders trying to drive change can be borrowed from laws of science. So I'm going to mix a few different laws of science and physics to help make this point around what you need to do as a leader to get an organization moving and keep it moving. So we're going to start with Newton's first law of motion, which is the law of inertia. Fundamentally, you've probably all heard this. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. A body at rest tends to stay at rest. So as a leader, you want your organization moving forward in whatever direction you've intended for it to move, whether that's your team, your function, or the company as a whole. So fundamentally, if it's starting off at rest or whatever kind of inertia that it has at the time, it could be moving in the wrong direction, but you need to get the organization moving in the right direction. So we're going to borrow a different term from chemistry, the idea of activation energy. This is the energy you need to put in place to get a reaction, to initiate a reaction, to get a response. Right? So we're not going to worry about the fact that the laws of physics and science, that we're mixing them here, but the activation energy is the energy you put in order to get things moving, in order to get a reaction, in order to get a response from your team, function, or company. So the bigger the leap, or the more that they're at rest, the more activation energy you need to put in place. Now, that activation energy can be the form of a vision. It can be the form of motivation. It can take many different structures in terms of how you put that energy into place. And it can simply be putting in place your own personal commitment to be out in front and lead from the front. So you have to think about not just how much activation energy do I need to put in place to move the organization forward, but also in what form that activation energy should take in order to make it most effective. Now, one of the biggest mistakes leaders make is once they're in the habit of putting that activation energy into place, they think it needs to continue in place. But as we've already stated, a body in motion tends to stay in motion. So fundamentally, you've already put in the activation energy. The team is moving forward. They are on board. They've bought into the vision. They've gotten organized around the work. They're moving forward. And if you keep inserting the same activation energy, it's wasted energy. In fact, it actually can be counterproductive because the team says, hey, we're moving forward. Why are you continuing to push in this direction? So this is when we have to change gears as leaders. So we're going to borrow another concept from science, the idea of drag force. An organization, a body in motion in space will just keep on moving. But you bring it down here on Earth and there's all sorts of forces, whether it's the resistance of the air or ground friction or gravity or whatever. There's forms of drag that slow that body down. And in your organization, there's drag forces that prevent a team that's trying to move forward from being able to move forward successfully. That can be anything from politics to lack of alignment, to lack of resources, to lack of skills. There's all sorts of things that get in the way of a team trying to move forward. And so as a leader, your job is to notice that moment when I no longer need to insert activation energy. What I need to shift to is removing drag force. What are the things in the way of the team that is now motivated and energized and activated to move forward, preventing them from moving forward? And I have to focus on removing those drag forces. So think about your organization as a body that you want in motion. When and how do I put in activation energy? And when and how do I switch to removing those drag forces? You get that right, and your team can go much further with much less energy.